There are a lot of things you can learn from Justin Thomas's swing, but also a lot of things that amateurs probably shouldn't copy. Let's break it down. One of the things I really like is how he bends from the waist, not the knees, allowing his arms to hang more naturally rather than reaching for the ball. Ball position is slightly more forward than you might expect for a 7 or 8 iron, but overall great setup. He takes the club straight back down the line, something you've seen him rehearse in his pre-shot routine. Club face is very square, almost directly parallel with the back of his left wrist. If we go back down, a key move here is how he rotates his right hip right away and his pressure shifts into his inner right heel. This is a critical move as we've talked about before. This is where I think JT's swing stands out. His hands go up incredibly vertical. Guys like Rory McIlroy create more shoulder rotation, which allows them to shallow the club and work the club for more inside on the way down. They basically create more depth in their swing, and JT lacks a lot of depth. What I mean by that is if we draw a line from his hands, you can see it works into the balls of his feet. Guys like Rory McIlroy will have their hands back here working more into their heels. Now, I have a take about this. Justin Thomas has mentioned having a lot of lower back pain. And if we look at this face-on view, I think you can see why. Because it lacks that depth and rotation in his upper body, it puts serious pressure on his lower back, which subconsciously could force him into his lead side too early. Now, if he leans onto his left foot too early, it can make the club come down too vertical, which is where accuracy issues can creep in. He might cover it and pull it off the toe, or shove it right if he can't square the face. I checked his 2025 strokes gain stats, and there's a clear drop-off in approach shots over 200 yards. His peers, who are also elite ball strikers, stay consistent, but JT drops off in the rankings. Now, one of the more unusual things about JT's swing is his trail foot comes up onto his toe well before impact. Now, if an amateur tried this with a deeper backswing, it would probably block their hands from working through the shot. But because he lacks depth and his wrist angles are great, it works for him. Let's work to impact. Hands lead the club to impact, and this right elbow stays slightly underneath that left arm. He pushes off the ground incredibly hard, his left leg straightens out, and hips open up. Something that a TPI coach would love to see. It's a super high release, which makes sense given how vertical the rest of his swing is. JT's swing is super unique. While there's a lot to love, it's also a lot that requires a ton of athleticism and precision. I would never recommend copying any Tour Pro swing, but I do think there are parts we can learn from. But there's no doubt he has one of the most explosive and dynamic swings on tour.